Hello everybody, good morning, good evening and good afternoon earthlings, wherever you are on planet Earth. Anyone seen any UFOs lately? I just know this is gonna be the year that aliens visit. That's a side note. Anyway, I'm not a clickbaity type person, so I'll get straight down to the meat and the sandwich. Harry Windsor at court yesterday. Interesting. The news broke just after I'd uploaded the video yesterday, so I thought, well, I'll sit off and I'll see what's this all about, because I didn't see any publicity like this court hearing. They're having a 4-day preliminary hearing apparently. There are I think 5 plaintiffs, Liz Hurley, Prince Harry, Elton John and 2 other people I'm sorry I've never heard of before. And it's to do with the phone hacking, and it goes back years and years. And I thought, well, the same as anyone else, when I saw the images of Harry turning up at the court, that he was probably going to give evidence or something. There'd be a reason for him to be there. Now, I haven't established if he actually did anything, signed any documents, or there was any legal reason that he actually had to be there. All I can deduce is that he sat in the back of the court. Now, if that is the case, that he literally just turned up, he flew all the way over from America just to appear, to me that smells of vengeance. That is an act of anger. That's my interpretation of it. I saw pictures of him, very smirky. I would be more interested actually in the days to come, and I hope it does come out, what exactly is it that the plaintiffs have discovered that makes them feel that new evidence has been found that's going to condemn associated newspapers. Was Piers Morgan an editor ever there? Because I don't really follow Piers's career, but I know he was editor of various newspapers back in the day. Is this to target Piers in some way? I don't know. But, and I have thought more than once about a particular and very high profile civil court case years ago. We have a very, very famous actress in the United Kingdom, and I love her. I'm a huge fan of hers, Gillian Tailforth. She has been in lots and lots of things on our TV screens, and we have a soap opera in the UK called EastEnders. And Gillian played a character called Cathy Beale. Just checking on what my cat's doing in my blow-up jacuzzi. Don't want none of that, do we, kitty? Gillian was a star. She is a star. I think she's still in EastEnders. I think they killed her off and then she came back. It was one of them. But she is wonderful. But there was a High Court case, and she was suing The Sun, I believe, if I'm correct, for slander, libel, defamation, and she lost. Now, I remember this because I was a huge Angie and Den fan. Everybody remember Angie and Den Watts? And I loved Cathy Beale. Cathy was one of my favourite characters. And I hadn't heard anything about this. I mean, going back years and years, I can't even remember how old I would have been. 15, 17, maybe 19, I can't remember. But I saw it on the lunchtime news that there was this big court case happening, because my dad always put the news on at lunchtime. He'd come upstairs from the office and I'd be like, oh, really? I was in the middle of watching Crown Court, which was another great TV show we used to have. And on it came, Gillian Tailforth is suing The Sun. There's a big court case. And I went, oh, what's all that about? And my dad said, oh, it's been all over the newspapers. And I said, I never knew anything about this. And I'm a massive, massive fan of EastEnders. And my dad said, well, and my father was a lawyer. He said, well, this is the thing, darling. Sometimes it's best not to sue. And he actually used the royal family as an example and said, this is why when you're always asking me why the Queen doesn't sue, this is why. Because a lawsuit draws attention until it's like whack, 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 whack. Is everybody looking? Everybody, make sure absolutely everybody knows about this. And unfortunately for Gillian, it was, well, you can look it up. I'm not going to go into the details, but she and her husband, I think it was her husband or fiance at the time, had been accused of doing something lewd in a car on a motorway. And, you know, me being a young girl, I was like, what? What? Anyway, Gillian lost. And she collapsed at the court, and they had to call an ambulance. And I was like, oh my God, I hope she's going to be all right. I love Kathy Beale. You know, sod Gillian Tailforth, I love Kathy Beale. Hope my favourite character's not going to get written out. Sorry, Gillian, if you're watching. I love her. She's one of these women, she gets better looking as she ages. How does she do that? Anyway, she lost, and of course, the papers had a field day. They literally had a piranha feeding frenzy. And it was all over the news. It was all over the news in the evening. And I just thought, poor Gillian. Anyway, do you know what Gillian did? She picked herself up and she got a starring role in something called Footballers' Wives, and she came back fighting, and she just moved on in life. She thought, right, that's done. And she is to this day an enormous success. She is a success story. So Harry Windsor, if you're watching this, learn, look up Gillian's story. Not sure. EastEnders started in 1985. I don't even know Windsor even knows Gillian exists, or Kathy Beale, or watches EastEnders. I doubt it. But take note from her, Harry. She tried to sue. She failed. I think it really hit her financially, because I remember the media going on and on and on. Oh, she's bankrupt. You know, we're going to get the shopping trolley shot, which I often refer to. With a fag hanging out of her mouth, pushing a trolley in a tracksuit and with her hair in curlers and stuff. But they never got the shopping trolley shot with Gillian. Oh, no, 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 far from it. As I say, the woman becomes more and more gorgeous the more she ages. She's a total cougar. I don't mean that she's promiscuous or anything like that. I've no idea what the actual person is like. So Windsor, think about that. Think about that, because you've got so many lawsuits going on at the moment. What interests me is that Liz Hurley is a co-plaintiff, and I like Liz, and so I'm thinking, would Liz actually get involved in something unless there was some substance? So I'm interested in the case itself more than Windsor turning up to show off his bald head. And I noticed that was the biggest thing for me. He looks like a monk. I don't like commenting on people's personal appearance, but it's really, really... shave your head, Windsor. Shave your head. Go bald like your brother. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, men look very sexy, I think. Graham and I have been watching old video of us when we were on the run. And my Graham used to look a lot like that. What's he called, Graham? Jason Stratham, is it? Yeah, you know, the Terminator guy. Graham's a lot like him. A lot like him. Still is, and he wants me to shave his head again soon. Anyway, so for what it's worth, Windsor and your PR team, and why did he turn up? Why did he turn up if he wasn't, his presence wasn't required? That's extreme. It's not like he's living in the UK just down the road and he thought, oh, I'll pop in. And also I noticed it seemed to be a lot of photographers and media people around, almost as if they'd been tipped off that he was going to be there. So, did a little birdie make a phone call? I'm not saying a word, just putting it out there on YouTube for the whole fucking world to hear. But yeah, I think maybe she made a phone call. Anyway, so, on another subject, American royalty. As Graham pointed out, I should be ashamed that the one member of the American aristocracy was, of course, the Duke, the fabulous late John Wayne. I adored John Wayne when I was a child because there were certain attributes about him that reminded me of my dad, and my dad was a huge John Wayne film, so the Duke. And he earned his title by just being John Wayne. That's even better than getting a title from the royals in the UK, in my opinion. That's way, way alto. So, yeah, John Wayne. And finally, I've made some notes. I did notice that there had been a little bit of a ding-dong between a couple of you in the comments on the video yesterday about Meghan being compared to Grace Kelly. So I wanted to say a few words on that. Firstly, don't get upset with each other, guys, because we all have different points of view. But one person had sort of said, it's very misogynistic for us all to criticise Meghan for comparing herself. Interesting term of words, because I'm not sure it's Meghan who's got anything to do with this production that's being released today, apparently. I have my suspicions, but it's not necessarily Meghan. But this person had said that they felt that we're all behaving like Meghan in putting her down because she was a struggling actress, and that we're dissing other struggling actresses and actors. No, not at all. The reason, well, my personal reason, I can't speak for any of you, but I have read your comments and I think we're on the same page on this one. My personal beef with the two ladies being compared is that Grace not only was hugely successful, she literally gave everything up to go and live in Europe, which is completely different to America. Not only that, I believe she learned to speak French, if she didn't already speak French, and Italian fluently. They do speak English in Monaco, but they're also fluent in French and Italian, and most likely Spanish, because if you can speak Spanish, you can speak Italian, more or less Portuguese as well. So, and not only that, we went to Monaco a few years ago, and I can tell you, Grace's essence is everywhere. It's like stepping into the film high society. It really is. The police there dress so nicely, security, everything's very smooth. It's like being in a James Bond movie. It really is. It's so clean. It's absolutely lovely. And all the people there are just, they have this chicness about them. And also, my mother was an actress, a struggling actress, which I don't think I've ever mentioned before here on YouTube. My mother went to RADA and qualified at RADA. In fact, she was friends with Joan Sims. I don't know if anyone, maybe not in America, people are not familiar with Joan Sims. Joan was, and my mother's name was Joan as well. Joan was one of the stars of the Carry On films. And my mother and her, they were in the same year at RADA. And my mum knew a few other people. And I'm pretty certain my mum said that one of her dancing teachers was Lionel Jeffries, who was the dad in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Much to the annoyance of my great aunt and my grandmother, my mother met my father and then just didn't bother pursuing an acting career. She'd done a few things. She went into stage management for a short time, and they were both like, what? Anyway, that's another story. She had a equity card as well, the Equity Union, which she kept for years, which, terribly enough, was a piece of ivory, I think, with her name, and glad they don't do that anymore. And I don't know what happened to that. I haven't seen that in years. So yeah, my mother was and my mother had other contemporaries who were struggling actresses. There was another one, but I forget her name. She was another Joan. And she used to do, it was like Panorama or something like that, I can't remember. And she was became sort of a presenter journalist. So, no, I'm not by any means dissing struggling actresses. And what Meghan's done is the exact opposite of what Grace did. Meghan has not only run away to find freedom, whatever that means, she's then gone on TV chatting shit about the royal family, dissing the whole of the United Kingdom, and they have more than once implied that the Commonwealth is built on slavery and the slave trade, and it's all a load of supremacist white overlords lording it over, which raised more than an eyebrow across the Commonwealth. I've also had sugars in the past when I was talking about the engagement interview, and I said it is a lot of pressure for Meghan to be introduced to 2.4 billion citizens, and a lot of the sugars have said, what country has 2.4 billion citizens? I don't know, but the Commonwealth does, which is a collection of countries. Just thought I'd put that out there in case, because I get kind of sick of sugary comments saying that to me. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Windsor. Obviously there's going to be further hearing today, the next day and the next day, presumably. And I shall watch with interest to see what it is. And on a final point, what I would say to Judge Honeywell, who will be tagged in this video, Harry's obviously made it clear that even though his presence wasn't required in the court, he's perfectly happy to turn up with a load of photographers. So Judge Honeywell, if you're in any way, shape or form considering dropping Samantha Markle's case on the basis, oh, I must prevent poor Prince Harry from attending court, he'd hate such a thing, take note. The guy's loving it. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.